Hello there students, welcome to a new class. In today's class we shall be discussing the poem A Poison Tree written by William Blake. So before I start the poem, let me just take you to the bottom side of this page, as you don't have to follow the book if you just watch the video. So let's just first look at the vocabulary and what such words mean here. So the first word that you see here which you need to look into, that is wrath. Now, what is wrath? Wrath is a strong feeling of anger. When you feel very, very angry, that means you can unleash your wrath upon somebody. When you beat somebody up out of anger, which is obviously a bad thing, but that is a wrath. You might have seen in films when heroes, unleash their wrath upon the villain. So, wrath means a strong feeling of anger. Next is you have foe. Foe means an enemy, and the other words that you need to look at here is deceitful wiles. What does that mean? It means some cunning tricks. Some people know tricks and you get deceived by them. Some people might tell you that they have something, and when you actually find out they don't have that thing, so which means they tricked you. So wiles here means some cunning tricks. Other than that, you have a word like beheld, as you can see here, which means to see, but obviously that's in the past tense. And stole is also the past tense of steal, which means when you unscientifically take something from somebody's property without even informing them, secretly, obviously. Then you have veiled, which means covered, and you have pole. But pole is very important in this poem because the speaker is talking about North Pole, especially the North Star, which stays fixed in the night sky, through which in olden days the seafarers used to get their direction, because that star, that is the only star which remains fixed, so we can definitely get the direction out of that. And that's how navigators used to work in those days. Here E means pole star, means when even the pole star cannot be seen, which means the night was very, very dark. We'll come to know when the night was dark and what happened. We'll come to know that, but you just keep this in mind that the night was pretty dark. Particular night was so dark, as you can see, it's written here. And outstretched means something that is lying dead, totally dead. Okay, let's look at William Blake for a sec. He's an English poet and a painter. He used to do a lot of painting, and he was a poet. He wrote pretty good poems, but when he wrote them, he was not he couldn't become famous instantly, but later his works got recognition, and there were other poets like William Butler Yeats and Aldous Huxley. All these other poets popularized his work in maybe a later part of his life. Now you see, he wrote about human nature and spirituality, and he showed the original groundbreaking things, and which makes his poems so inspiring, which you will come to know in this poem what it means, because in this poem he's speaking metaphorically. And then in the other lines that you see here describes how a feeling of anger. It's about the poem, so I'll not tell you because I want you to read that portion, but when I explain you the poem, I'll just read the poem out to you. I'll just give you what I think about the poem and how I can make you understand it. So let's see a poison tree. First of all, there are poison trees, right? Poisonous trees we have in the forest, which if you come across, if you touch that tree, you might die. You might die because maybe there is something poisonous in that tree. But in here, this poisonous tree is a metaphor for anger. Sometimes we feel angry at some people, and if that person is a friend, we just go to them, we tell them that this is my problem and you've done it wrong, and then it gets fixed. But sometimes we get angry at people we don't know, and we don't tell them. When we don't tell them, what's our problem is, it is at that particular time, you start to feel venomous towards them, and you start to feed your anger, and that anger becomes very much, I would say, evil for both of you, for you as well as the other person. And that's how you end up, destroying the common nature of your mind. So we'll just look into this poem and what he actually says. This tree that you see here doesn't exist. it is a poison tree. Nobody can actually grow a poison tree. Nobody grows a poison tree. But when you have anger issues with someone, especially with an enemy, you might have that. You might want to. Sometimes, when we are angry with somebody, with an individual, with a friend, it turns evil. It turns evil. When it turns evil, it will turn evil if you want to take revenge, if you want to take if you want to do harm to them, if you want to somewhat if you want to make them uncomfortable, or if you want to if you steal somebody something, or if you just imagine, I'll give you a situation. You have an enmity with your friend, and that friend is trying to sit on the desk, and if you keep a compass and he sits on the compass, what will happen, right? You can imagine. Perhaps you are smiling right now. It's a dangerous thing. So that sort of enmity is not good. Sometimes our friends may not agree with us, and then we talk to them, and we solve it through the talks. But sometimes we cannot solve it through the talks, and then we feed the anger, and फिर anger बढ़ जाता है, और फिर क्या होता है, you already know that. So let's look at this poem and what William Blake has to say. First line, if you look at, I was angry with my friend. Very simple. He was very angry with one of his friends. A friend means a person whom he knew, with whom he sat, with whom he studied. Just like you guys have friends, right? So he's saying, I was at first angry with my friend, close friend. So I told my wrath. Told my wrath here means I told him why I was angry, and my wrath did end. So when he told his friend why he was angry, then they settled it, and then his anger went away. This was with his friend. Keep in mind, I was angry with my friend. I told my friend why I was angry. You see the line, you see in the second line? I'm not going to point out anything here, okay? Second line, you see, I told my wrath means I told my anger, and my anger did end, which means my anger went away once I told him, and then we fixed it. Misunderstandings. When you tell people your misunderstandings just go away. Then you see what happened in the next scenario. I was angry with my foe. Foe means enemy. Now he's not angry with his friend. He's angry with his enemy. So he's saying, I was angry with my enemy. I told it not, but I never told him. My wrath did grow. So he said, I was angry. When I was angry with my friend, I told him, and my anger did vanish. But when I was angry with a foe, with an enemy, I did not tell it. And when I didn't tell it, my anger kept on. So he says he was angry with his enemy, and he never told his enemy. When he never told his enemy, his anger kept on growing. That's what happens, when we get angry at a strange person and we don't settle it, that anger remains within us, and that anger keeps on growing, and then that anger turns into something evil. So we must be careful to that. If you feel angry anytime in your life, as William Blake says, you have to tell it to that person, settle it through mutual understanding. Always remember that. Okay, let's see what happened after that, because he was angry with his enemy and he never told, so his anger kept on growing. Now we will see in the second stanza how it grew. Let's see. You can see, I watered it in fears. So at first, watered it in fears means at first he was very, very anxious. He was very nervous. He was hesitating. So he was feeling like, he was feeling fearful that, can I tell it? Can I confront it? Why should I confront it? Why isn't that person, say he or she, is not coming and telling me that I was wrong? So this is the problem. We always think like, my friend has to remember me. Why will I remember him? My friend has to remember me. But there's nothing like that. If you want to keep relationships intact, you cannot feel like that. So here he says, I watered it in fears, which means he was fearful. So he never told or never confronted with his enemy. And then what happened? Night and morning with my tears. So night and morning, I was just, with my tears here means I was thinking about that thing. I was thinking about what he said. Sometimes, when you get angry at somebody, because they told you something, said something wrong to you. So you, night and morning, you think about it. When you think about it, you feel more venomous, you feel more poisonous, and you want to take revenge. So that is what is happening with him, because he never told. Keep in mind, when you tell it, it goes away. When you don't tell it, it remains with you. The third line, you see, and I stunned it with smiles. So whenever he met that guy next time, I stunned it with sorry, it's not stunned. I sunned it with smile, means he smiled it. He faked it. Whenever he saw his enemy, he behaved as if nothing happened. Like, totally nothing happened. So he smiled as if everything is fine. and soft deceitful wiles. And then he says, but within him, as I said, deceitful wiles means cunning tricks. But so he was doing these cunning tricks within himself, like how I am looking for an opportunity to defeat that individual, to defeat that person. So he was just constantly, but he was giving a smile, but inside his brain, inside his mind, he was just thinking, how can I defeat this individual? Let's see the second last paragraph, which leads to the third, not paragraph, I'm sorry, stanza. It says, and it grew both day and night. So earlier he said night and morning. Now he became restless. It grew both day and night. So he was just constantly thinking about that, day and night. That one thing. How could he? Sorry. How could he, misbehave with me? How could he do that to me? Because he was angry at that part. So then he says something very metaphorical. This is metaphorical. Means something that doesn't exist in real sense. You have to imagine it. Till it bore an apple bright, which means he's comparing his anger with a newborn plant, okay, newborn tree. He's comparing his anger with that. So at first he didn't tell it, so it was just a seed. And then night and morning, it's like it grew a little. And then day and night means it grew a little more. And now it bore an apple bright. Means he says his anger has become so rigid, so red that वो अभी ट्री बन गया. मतलब ही एग्जाम्पल देने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि इट बिकेम अ ट्री, और उस ट्री में आया एक एप्पल, विच मीन्स ए गोल्डन अपॉर्चुनिटी. समटाइम्स इवन योर एनिमी हैज़ मिसलीड्स, तो तुम उसका इंतज़ार करते हो और वो टाइम आ गया. टिल इट बोर एन एप्पल ब्राइट मीन्स टिल आई गॉट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. इट मीन्स हिज एंगर ग्रीव सो रेड एंड हिज एंगर ग्रीव इन टू अ ट्री, एंड उस ट्री में आया एक एप्पल. मीन्स समथिंग लाइक an opportunity, and a golden opportunity to take the revenge. And my foe beheld it shine. So his foe means his enemy was looking at that apple. So he was trying to, lure him into something, mislead him. So his friend was looking at his apple, thinking that this apple matters to him. So what can I do? If I destroy the apple, or if I eat away the apple, then this guy will be like will be more ashamed of himself, and I'll win. The enemy was thinking like that. But he planned the thing, in here. This apple is a trick that he is setting. It's like a net he is setting for his enemy to come and crash into it. So let's see. He says, and my foe beheld it shine. When his enemy saw that apple bright, he was like, I need to have it. If I have it, my friend is not going to have it. And when he doesn't have it, he's going to regret it. And I'm going to win. This is what he's thinking. An enemy always thinks like that. And he knew that it was mine. So that guy knew that this apple belongs to the author, which means William Blake, right? And if I can destroy the apple, means I'm destroying William Blake. I'm destroying the other person. It is just like that, When somebody, envies you, so you have something very shiny, you have something very popular. Maybe you have a friend and you have a fantastic pen and your friend doesn't like you. So he would either destroy your pen or steal your pen. So this is what is happening here. But he doesn't know that that pen is poisonous. That apple is poisonous right now, because he will come after that apple. And let's see what happens once he gets that apple, eats that apple. Does he live or die? Let's find out in the last stanza. And into my garden stole when the night had veiled the pole, which means he came to my garden when the night had veiled the pole, means when the night was darker than the North Pole star, because North Pole star तभी दिखाई देता है जब आकाश clear रहता है. तो here he is saying he came to my garden when even the night and the North Pole star जो है वो भी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा था. It was very dark when he came. And in the morning, glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. And in the morning when he came there, because he knew he set it up, right? That was a poison tree. And if anyone would have that apple or any fruit from that tree, in this case it is an apple, and definitely if something is poisonous and you eat it, you die. So in the morning, when he came out of his house, he saw that his friend is lying dead under the tree. So this is how we finish the poem. Now let me tell you what's the message of the poem. In this poem we see that he was angry with his friend, but he told his friend. So when he told his friend, his anger went away. But when he was angry with his foe, he never told it. And it kept on growing, and he faked smiled it, and then he planned. His enemy was also planning. His enemy, when saw that he is growing something, in this case it is an apple, so he wanted to have this apple just to, de-shame him, just to de-shame him, just to put him away from the scene. But in this case, the real person was making the plan, and when he came towards the plan, it actually ended up killing him. So one thing we get very clearly from this poem is this, that if we keep feeding our anger, then anger will destroy us, and anger is never good. So that is the message of the poem. If you still have any confusion, I'll not go any lengthier than this. If you still have any confusion, please feel free to ask me on my WhatsApp number, and I'll see you with the next video. Bye bye.